Chris Hensley is a registered representative of Cambridge Investment Research, Inc., a broker-dealer member of FINRA SIPC, investment advisor representative of Cambridge Investment Research Advisors, Inc., a registered investment advisor. Cambridge and Houston First Financial Group are not affiliated.
The Houston Midtown chapter of the Society for Financial Awareness presents Money Matters with your host, Christopher Hensley.
Good morning, everybody. You're listening to Money Matters on KPFT Houston. Got a great show lined up for you today. It's difficult when you work with clients to get them on the same page when it comes to financial planning. Even more so when you work with couples. Typically, if I sit down with somebody, one person may be a spender, one person may be a saver, but it doesn't always fall on gender lines when it comes to that. How do we talk about money when it comes to gender? We will be joined by Anjali Pradhan, and she will have a deep conversation, a deep dive into women and money. So please stay tuned. Keep listening. If you're a long-time listener, you know we always reserve just the first few moments of the show to tell you a little bit about what's going on in the Houston in the Gulf Coast region when it comes to financial literacy. So we are here in February. Today is February 1st, and each and every week you hear me talk about Houston Money Week, and as we get closer and closer to Houston Money Week, the different events that kick off. I want to say this is either the third or fourth year that I've done a talk out at the Houston Hispanic Forum Career and Education Day. Now, that always takes place in February, but they are a partner with Houston Money Week, and it's a fantastic event. If you are here in Houston, it is in the George R. Brown Convention Center, so that place is huge. It takes up two city blocks, from one block to the other side of the block, giant conference center. And on February 16th from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m., we will have the 33rd Annual Career and Education Day for the Houston Hispanic Forum. So with this, it is a free event. It's open to the public. They have students bust in from all over Texas to ask questions about college planning, which is the talk that I'm going to be giving that day is on college planning. But in addition to that, scholarships, financial aid. They have some of the best career panels that I've seen. They've had NASA out there, the FBI, engineering, a lot of stuff that has to do with local STEM. So just really, really interesting career panels for the kids and the students to ask, kind of bounce ideas off of for people who've got real life training in these different professions. As well as learning kind of the best way to position yourself to be able to afford the math problem that is, how do I afford college? So this is on February 16th. It's from 9 to 3 p.m. I would encourage you to go to the HoustonHispanicForum.org to find out more information about that. They even serve lunch for people who attend, so there's free food involved. That's always a good thing. For more details, there should be a link as well on Money Week, which is www.houstonmoneyweek.org. With that, let's go ahead and get Anjali on the line here. Anjali, are you there?
I'm here. Hi, Chris.
Hi. Thank you so much for joining us today.
I'm so excited to be joining in because it is freezing up here where I am, and so I'm feeling that you guys are sending me some nice Houston heat.
Yes, absolutely. Wow. So I can't complain. It's 50 here, which is how cold is it there?
It's cold. It's cold. It's going to be cold for the next couple of weeks, so I'm planning a nice warm vacation somewhere south in the coming weeks.
There you go. There you go. Well, let's get right to it. Usually what I like to do is kind of share your bio with listeners so they can get to know you just a little bit better. Now, you began your career in investment management working for the big guys like PIMCO and Goldman Sachs in London. You were first on the trade floor as an analyst, where you help manage portfolio managers' money in both equities and the fixed income market. Later, in a business development, you guided institutional clients like pension funds and foundations on the happenings in the financial market, and you also helped them decide which financial products suited their needs and would help them reach their objectives. Towards the end of the time in London, you had a nagging feeling that you wanted more out of your career, and then to line your own pockets, you wanted the satisfaction of helping people. You recently embarked on a trip of a lifetime founding a consultancy, this one that we're going to talk about today, designed to enable women to live life to its fullest by becoming financially empowered. So that's a great place to kick off. Tell us a little bit about how that happened.
Yeah, so I had been working in the traditional financial services industry for some time, and then towards the end of my time there, I spent my 20s working in London for PIMCO, for Goldman Sachs, and then I had this feeling that there's more to it than helping big institutional clients. During the crash of 08-09, I was laid off like many others, and so that gave me time to really pause and think about what I was doing with my career and with my life. So fast forward a few years, a woman that I met had some money to invest, from a divorce settlement, like a lot of people. She had, a couple $100,000, but she really could not find the resources that she needed to help her invest that money. She had a financial advisor who was a man who she really did not connect with, who wasn't understanding her needs. So she ended up firing him, but then she had the problem that, I still have this money. What do I do with it? And so she implored me to teach women how to invest. And so I hesitated. To be honest, I was not a believer initially. I don't come from an I'm not a teacher. And I figured, this is a project for someone else. Yeah, it needs to be done. Women need to be helped, but I'm not best place to do it. And then, Christopher, I heard the statistic that women are actually, in North America, women are twice as likely, compared to men, to be in poverty at retirement. Twice as likely. Now, that's a staggering statistic. And so when I heard that, I said, you know what? No one seems to be doing much about this problem, so let's give it a shot.
So I had a very similar situation where I had a divorcee client where the investment piece was kind of delegated through the husband. So after the divorce, she didn't get the financial advisor, and so she kind of had to just kind of start from scratch. One of the things that you talk about is the gender investment gap. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so women actually invest about half as much as men do, and there's no real explanation for it, aside from the fact that there is something that in the financial services industry that is just not working for women. And so let me expand on that a little bit. It's not that, the banks don't want women as clients. They actually do want women as clients, but they just don't know, how to cater to them or what is not working. And so I find this was a really interesting problem, so to speak, in that we need to find out. We need a solution for this because it's a societal issue. So women invest half as much as men do, and partly, it's because, as I mentioned, they don't find the help they need. Most financial advisors are men. There are not enough female advisors to go around, and typically we like doing business, and we like doing business with people that can understand us, and typically that tends to be someone of our own gender. And so, there's various reasons what is not working. Like, for example, what I use in my practice, so I'm an investment coach. I'm not an advisor. I teach women how to invest their own money and to become DIY investors. So I do it like either through one-on-one coaching, or I actually just launched a online group coaching, which I'm super excited about. But really, one of the things that don't work for women is the way that financial products and financial services are presented. Christopher, like when you see an ad for a mutual fund, you'll usually see something like, charts and numbers. And that's typically how these things are presented. When in fact, women actually learn much better about money and investing through examples and stories told by other women. And so we are talking about two completely different things here, apples and oranges.
I was going to ask you at the beginning there, and I'm going to point people who want to find out more about you to the website, which is dahliawealth.com. So it's DAHLIA wealth.com. But there's a story behind the name. Where did you come up with the name?
When I was a little girl, I started playing soccer at the age of 7. And one of it wasn't even a girl on my team. It was a young girl on an opposing team. She was just such a phenomenal soccer player that we had heard about her like weeks before we actually encountered her team. And so for me, Dahlia really represents excellence, and that's what I want to do. I want my business to be excellent, but I also want women that I serve to, be able to go out and strive towards excellence in their own lives.
I love that, and you talked about the different ways that the kind of traditional presentations versus things like the online coaching and just giving different outlets to get the same information, but maybe in a different way. Let's kind of pivot for a moment and talk about roadblocks. When you coach women and when it comes to investing, what are some of the biggest roadblocks that you see?
Some of the roadblocks, so I tend to, I'm a financial analyst. My background is very much hard finance and, science, numbers. But I do find that when it comes to women, some of the roadblocks are not at all education or information. Like a lot of times we're used to hearing, there's a lack of information or there's a lack of financial education. We should have financial education in schools. But I find, especially with women, and this is true for, certain men too, but there are really some serious hang-ups when it comes to money. Women's relationship with money is generally, compared to men, quite tenuous, and there's a variety of reasons. It's, for one, that historically we have not had control over money. It's only very recently, over the past, 50 years, that women have started working and supporting themselves and really controlling wealth and controlling their own financial destiny. But our relationship with money is still very much stuck in the cultural kind of ideals of, a man is going to come and take care of me, and it's money is a man's domain. So that's one thing, which I do try to address. The other thing is that women don't, in the first meeting when I sit down with a woman or, in my online coaching, I get them to flesh out their goals, because how do we invest if we don't know where we're going? And today there are so many options in terms of what we can do with our lives compared to before. We can have work from home, we can work from anywhere, we can retire early. There are a lot of options. So I find that women don't even dare to dream, which I think is really sad. We tend to limit our options and our dreams. Me, myself, I never thought that I would start my own business, but here I am, and so I encourage other women to also dream, and we strive together towards achieving their goals through financial empowerment.
So that's huge. You talked about being able to sit down and flesh out those goals, dare to dream, don't limit yourself, and then also kind of the baggage of the tenacious relationship in the past with kind of the cultural stuff, making it a roadblock or making it more difficult to get there. So addressing all of those and then leading to what you call financial empowerment. Tell me a little bit about financial empowerment and kind of what you're doing on that end, because I know you're doing workshops and classes and that sort of stuff. Go a little bit deeper on that.
Yeah, so for me, there is no empowerment without money. We live in a capitalist society. Without money, we can't do a whole lot. So whatever it is that you want to do in life, money will help you get there. So let's do away with all these ideas that money is for men or money is bad, and money is a tool. It will allow you to do whatever it is that you want to do, and so. In my online program, I make sure it's a dialogue, regardless of how my clients come to me or see me. I make sure it's a dialogue. I make sure they get to ask as many questions as they want. Because it's really about them feeling comfortable. And it's actually hard to get sometimes, I know if I was in a room full of men, I would have so many questions, I would have to shut them down, after an hour, because men love asking questions and they love talking about money. But for women, it's a completely different story, and I really have to make it. And that's why I tend to keep it, a kind of women-only program, because I want it to be, quote-unquote safe space where women don't feel shy or uncomfortable to ask questions. It's really their forum, and I'm there to facilitate and help them get what they want.
Can you share a story with one of your, say, students or clients when it comes to either in the group setting or through the online coaching where you've seen the coaching really make an impact on them?
Oh, my gosh. Actually, one of my first students, she was actually working somewhere where I was presenting a workshop, and she said, "You know what? I love what you're doing so much. I want in." And she's actually now, so I started working with her about a year ago. She was a young 28-year-old woman, and she's actually a woman of color. And that's the other thing, is that we need examples. On a side note, women need examples of other women that look like them, that are investors. So, that's what I try to provide. I'm also a woman of color, and so if I can do it, you can too. It's important to have that. But yeah, so this young woman, she, when she had met me for one-on-one coaching, she had told me, I'm working at this, I have a 9-to-5 job right now, but I would really like to quit my job at some point, and go travel and do volunteer work, because she had previously actually established a school for, underprivileged children in Nepal, which I think is absolutely fantastic. And she wanted to go back to doing that sort of work. But she knew that, all of this has a financial price tag, and she needed to be able to pay for that. She needed to be able to pay for herself, to get there and to do all this good work. And now, she quit her job, I think, right before Christmas. And she's on a 5-month, she's on a 5-month trip through Southeast Asia. I see her updates on social media. It looks absolutely fantastic. She is like mountain climbing and rock climbing and, meeting village children that she's going to be helping. And it just, it makes me so proud that, money has enabled her to do that. And I'm glad that she reached out to me and she recognized that. And a lot of times she was only in her 20s. A lot of times we have these ideas, especially about younger people, millennials, that they, all they want to do is drink lattes and have, their avocado toast and waste money. But I'm actually seeing the opposite, that millennials are actually pretty with it. They know that they need to take their financial situation in hand. It's just that they need some resources. They need maybe a bit of education and confidence building. And so my online course is actually really geared towards that segment of society, that is just starting out, because, like most financial advisors get paid as a percentage of assets that are managed for their clients, which is fine for people who have already started, who have a bit more. But if you haven't started, how do you start if no one wants to help you because of this problem? And so, this online course is an online coaching, I should call it, because I'm live there every week, teaching and answering questions. It's really for that segment of society. How do I get started? Well, this is a perfect, avenue.
And I'll just piggyback off of that because I agree. A lot of the resources out there are available for people that have already started accumulating and have kind of a bucket there. But if you're just getting out of the gate and you want tools to get started, things that you mentioned earlier that are very specific, like the salary gap and that sort of thing, are working against you. Talk about a little bit more about that you mentioned the salary gap and then women being underprepared for things like retirement. Go a little bit further with that.
Yeah, so, the salary gap is there. It's very stubborn. It's this, the fact that women make less than men do for the exact same work. And so, that's been there forever. It's a problem I would love to tackle, but I'm probably not going to in my lifetime. But what I can do is that, if you have whatever you make, if you can put aside some money, for example, I crunch these numbers. If you're 20 years old, if you only put away $37 a week, every week, until you turn 65, and then invest that entire amount in the stock market. So it can be the S&P 500 or something like that. You should have approximately $1 million by the time you retire at 65. Okay, so regardless of the salary gap, if you invest even just, and whatever it can, as you get older, you have to obviously, the later you start in age, the more you have to put aside. But what I like to say is that the stock market and the financial markets are really the great equalizer. The stock market does not care if you're a man or a woman. It does not care if you're black or white. It does not care of your sexual orientation. You put your dollar in, it is worth just as much as anyone else's. And for me, this is huge. It is critical in terms of women getting what they deserve and leveling the playing field, making the most of their hard-earned money. We'll put it in the stock market and it will grow. Where typically women we consider ourselves savers. If you ask a woman whether she considers herself a saver or an investor, she will most likely say that she is a saver. Saving is a good first step, as you know, but it is not sufficient. If you want to, 10x your wealth, if you want to hit those retirement goals of yours, you really need to start investing. So that's the second part of the equation that women, we need to get on that bandwagon. We need to get educated and we need to take our money into our financial situation into our own hands.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more with you. Now, anytime we get into the investing section, because since I am an advisor, I always have to say past performance isn't necessarily indicative of future results. But so that my person in compliance is happy now that I said that. But
absolutely, I say it as well. So I'm glad you said it on my behalf.
But the important distinction that you made between saving, which is a fantastic habit, you have to have that, but investing, two different things. When we talk about growth, when we talk about inflation, I live kind of in the retirement space. So when you mentioned the salary gap, on the back end, the average Social Security drawdown for a man is like $28,000 a year, but for a woman who has a longer life expectancy than a man is about 24,000. So I'll see it when people are not prepared for retirement, and you take that number and you compare it to what they make a year. If they don't have any other savings outside of that, that's trouble. So
oh, absolutely, yeah. Women do. We women in North America, we live on average 5 years longer than a man, and that is tremendous. That means that even if you have a very modest lifestyle and let's say need $50,000 a year to live in retirement, and that's not even including inflation or anything like that, just very rough calculations, you'll need $250,000 more than your male partner, than your husband, than a man. And that is a lot. $250,000 is a lot, of a gap that we have to close. And so, investing is really the only sustainable, real, credible way to get a leg up and to get to where we need to in terms of our life goals, our retirement planning, and one last thing, on that, a lot of advisors focus on retirement, which is great. I do as well, but I find especially for my younger students and clients, retirement just seems so far away. If you're 25 years old, that's like 40 years away. That's a long time. So what I do is that I also encourage them to save and invest for other life goals, like whatever that may be, whether it's, buying a house, whether it's travel. For me, it was, starting my own business. If I had not been on a solid financial foundation, there's no way I would have been able to start my own business. So it's just, there are other things that are maybe more enticing to save towards than retirement if you're a long ways off.
Absolutely, and we're bumping towards the end of the show here, but I'm such an advocate when it comes to saving. Investing is huge as well, but when it comes to savings, what do you tell a young woman who comes to you and they feel like just kind of like their head's underwater, that they're not they don't know how to save? What would you tell that person?
Yeah, so I find, like we're all told to budget and floss and drink lots of water and all sorts of stuff, but like few of us do. And so for me, really, this is why I keep going back to the goals. If you have a goal in mind, and not just some vague goal that's in the distance, if you have a specific goal, like I want to quit my job in 4 years to go travel around the world for 6 months, how is that going to make me feel? How, where am I going to go? That goal becomes real and it becomes your reality. And then you know what? It's almost like magic. That money which you thought you didn't have all of a sudden becomes available. Those things that are unnecessary, those the extra lattes or the extra pair of shoes that you don't really need, those somehow, they become a lot less necessary, and you're striving towards your goal, saving and investing towards your goal becomes a lot more, it becomes easier and more enjoyable because you feel that you're not sacrificing something. You are striving towards your future life. So, if anyone wants to have a quick chat with me, if they go to my website, they can book a call, and it's absolutely free. We can talk about your situation and see if you're a good fit for my services, either coaching or the one-on-one coaching or the group coaching. And I'm always happy to talk to women across the country about their life and their money situation.
Absolutely. I'm going to give the website again. It's www.dahliawealth, so DAHLIA wealth.com. Now, on the podcast version, we'll have a link to that as well, so you can find out more about this coaching program through the podcast there. You mentioned goals and being very specific with them. I like that because you it's not just a good intention or a dream. You got very specific with a date and a dollar sign, and really you said make it real, tie it into a very real goal to get there. So I like that. As we are getting towards the end of the show, what have I forgot to ask you that you'd like to share with listeners?
Oh boy. If you've been putting off, this is kind of public services announcement, whoever you go to, if you've been putting off investing, don't put it off for a day longer, because a day can become a month, a year, 5 years. Every day that you're not investing, you're foregoing money that could easily be yours with absolutely very little effort, and actually no effort once it's set up. So make it a priority. The earlier you start, the better, and the better it is, and the easier it'll be for you. Your time will do the heavy lifting for you. So, so whatever it is, whoever you want to reach out to help you get started, or if you're already an investor but you're not really happy with the way things are going, there's also lots of ways in which you can tighten up and do things more efficiently.
I love it. No procrastination. The sooner the better. Anjali, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks so much, Chris. It was great chatting.
And have a great weekend.
Thanks for listening to today's episode of Money Matters Podcast. If you enjoyed the show, visit us on the web at www.moneymatterspodcast.com. Drop us a line on SpeakPipe on the right-hand corner. It will receive any voicemails, questions, thoughts, concerns that you have about the show. In addition to this, we recently launched a Patreon campaign. Click on the Donate Now tab to hit the tip jar and find out what Patreon's campaign is all about.